We actually met all day yesterday to review and approve the budgets for the universities in the state, so therefore they have permission now to go ahead and begin to spend those dollars, so that's important. The second thing is we had a really good review of some new proposals, and one of the ones that came out today was drones and drone technology. ULM is going to be doing that, so once again our institutions are really positioning themselves and their students for the future. And finally, we honored Kurt Isink, who had played really a leading role in the workforce in the state and sadly and tragically passed away at a very early age.
I just want to say thank you very much on behalf of our children, Maxwell, Samantha and Adelaide, and Kurt's parents, Uta and Billy, who couldn't be here today, and on behalf of our entire huge family who love Kurt. I met Kurt, we were both in our early 20s working at the Advocate, and he was tall and handsome. He had this cute accent, and he had this Magnum PI mustache that Chris Broadwater later ruined for me by calling it Mr. Bean. But what I really fell in love with was Kurt's boldness and his honesty and his ethics. And I fell in love with the confident way that he could just cut through baloney and get straight to the heart of the matter. And we had been dating a little while when one day I said, "You know, Kurt, I really like you." And he said, in his Kurt accent, using words that I would never use, he said, "Well, you love me and I love you." And that was the first time he told me he loved me. Because he just had a way of spotting BS, and he had a really low tolerance for it. And if you knew him at all, you knew that he had a really high tolerance for cussing. So, Kurt did live in several countries growing up, but Louisiana was his true home. And he was driven less by a paycheck and more by the idea that he could have a job that would do something that would help make his home a better place. And Tim Parfield saw Kurt's potential and brought him on to the Louisiana Workforce Commission, and then Bobby Jindal believed in him enough to keep him there. And it was there that I saw Kurt just catch on fire with the idea that they could really make a difference in somebody's life by giving them access to jobs so that they could stay here in Louisiana and support their families. And I had an insider's view of his passion from his early morning phone calls with Charles Magnon to late nights just for hours typing furiously on this little work tablet that he had and loved, to the many times that innocent cousins or friends would ask him about what's going on in Louisiana, only to grievously regret their error after like 30 minutes of his passionate response. But he would come home after work and park at the top of our driveway and, finish up phone calls. And I could hear him just laughing his head off. And that's because he just loved it. And he loved working with all of you. And you gave him the opportunity of his lifetime. And you trusted him, and you supported him, and you argued with him, and you challenged him, and you believed in him. And you made him just shout with laughter in our driveway in his truck. He was honored to call you colleagues and friends. So it's very important for us to thank you for this humongous honor, and thank you for keeping his memory alive.
There's no downtime in higher ed from that perspective, and we're already starting now to begin to think about next year in the legislative session, and we appreciate the governor's support and the legislative support, but having kept that in mind, we're still looking at the fiscal cliff, so hopefully we will not have to go over that cliff. I've been in this position, it'll be 3 years. The board asked me to continue to do an additional 3 years, and I was flattered, but I'm going to be retiring next year, so I promised I'd see them through one more session. So we have started, and we will appoint a search firm, hopefully by the end of October, and we'll begin a search, and I think we'll have a very good slate of candidates for he or she to start next spring and overlap with me, and then start in June formally.